Welcome to round 12 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship, and for the first time in 5 years, we're back in London. This is the London E-Prix. Wonderful view of Tower Bridge there, which is just a little down the river from where we are here in London's Excel, an exhibition centre and space by the Royal Docks to the east of the city, and that is where we will find the world's first indoor-outdoor race circuit. The track goes inside the Excel, and then you can see outside here with the attack mode on the exit of turn 16. We'll get you up to speed with the track and where it goes over the next few minutes. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me in commentary is Dario Franchitti. And that is Antonio Felix da Costa, who is second in the championship standings. Robin Freitz is third. Norman Nato getting ready to head out onto the circuit as the drivers prepare for what is quite unusual in being a 5 p.m. race practice start local time. This is usually taking place at 8 a.m. in the morning and everyone's a little bit sleepy and tired, but now it is taking place in the evening ahead of the action that'll get underway tomorrow. And this is where we are as far as the championship is concerned as we arrive in London. With just 2 races to go after this weekend, Sam Bird is leading the way, 5 points clear of Antonio Felix da Costa and Robin Freitz. And then Eduardo Mortara is fourth for the Rocket Venturi team. Nick Cassidy and Jean-Eric Verne are the rest of the top 6. Further down the order, Stoffel Van Dorn has dropped from second down to 13th. The 2 BMW i Andretti Motorsport drivers tied on points. Sebastian Buemi had a little bit of a stronger weekend in New York, but he's still down in 20th spot. And despite winning no races, the combined positions of Freitz and Cassidy in 3rd and 5th in the standings mean that Envision Virgin Racing are at the top of the championship standings. They are 2 points clear of the Estachita, 5 points clear of Jaguar Racing, with Audi and Mercedes the rest of the top 5. As I say, 3-time IndyCar champ, 3-time Indy 500 champion Dario Franchitti is alongside me. This, Dario, a unique circuit.
Unique is the word for it. Inside the Excel Stadium. You see the start line down to turn 1, nice and wide on entry there, so good chance for overtaking, but you can't get too excited about that because turn 2 straight away. Then outdoors, 4, 5 steeply downhill, turn 6, 7 back at the outside. Nice and wide through 9, heavy braking, incredibly tight series of hairpins in 10 and 11. Quick chicane, 12, 13, easy to make a mistake. Bumpy down here, these fast right-handers, heavy braking, 16 attack mode on the outside. Uphill again, back inside into the stadium, turn 22, up to the start-finish line, 2.2 kilometers. Pretty interesting old circuit.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's there's so much to get into about the circuit, and here you see the inside section from that's the exit of turn 3, and they've put down this sort of topping, let's say, on the sort of regular shiny floor that you expect to see in an exhibition centre. And Lucas Di Grassi said it's the grippiest thing he's ever driven on, and going from outside to inside is kind of like going from wet to dry. It's that dramatic a grip increase.
Yeah, I think tomorrow we'll be going from wet to dry because the forecast looks like it's going to be a lot of wet. It's going to be, I think, quite aggressive on the tyres as well. It's so abrasive, the surface, that could be quite interesting. As the surface has changed, turns 3, turns 4, turns 5, for instance, they tend to happen in the middle of a corner, so that is going to create its own set of problems.
Di Grassi also said when he first drove on that tarmac, he nearly drove into the wall because he turned into the right-hander thinking he would get a bit of understeer, and it just gripped up and he went straight towards the wall. So, okay, there's some grip there.
Yeah, done that before.
There's Robin Freitz, who is 3rd in the championship standings, coming into this 45-minute practice session and coming into this weekend after a 5th and an 8th place in New York, which was pretty impressive. Gained a lot of places throughout the field, 12 in fact in the second race in New York City, to come from the back of the grid pretty much up into 8th position. The Dutchman in Envision Virgin Racing, sort of home race, the Virgin team based up at Silverstone, and the session is about to go green now, and everybody will launch out to try and get onto the track as quickly as possible. And there goes Antonio Felix da Costa at the head of the queue. Jean-Eric Verne waiting by the looks of things, doesn't want to be first out and first on the dirty stuff. We had a shakedown session earlier on today, so the track got cleaned up a little bit in that, and it'll simply clean up more and more as we progress. So you can hear that kind of indoor karting noise, can't you, as the drivers leave the pit lane. Then they'll swing through this left-hander of turn 3 and out into the daylight.
Absolutely, and the organisers have made a lot of efforts to clean this circuit. the street sweepers have been out trying to just get any of the dust away from the circuit. This is turn 4 and straight into turn 5, steeply downhill. Look at you can actually see somewhat how steep it is downhill there. Look at the building. That is level. That will show you how steep it is. Straight into turn 6. I think that's a slightly slippery surface, more than they were expecting possibly. Quick chicane, 6, 7, turn 8. That's the exit of 7 through 8. Back over to the left-hand side and turn 9. Bit of a bump right at the apex if you watch the front of the cars. Track widens out. In turn 9, and then heading down, you see 150 marker. That's the braking boards for turn 10 already. It's a tight place, but I think that's one of the overtaking opportunities if you're feeling really brave. But just look how tight the corner is. And you think 10's tight. Look at turn 11. That really takes all the steering lock the Formula E car has just to get through there on your own.
I guess you've got to try and get as far back over to the right-hand side as possible after that. And then you're into this chicane, which may well catch a few people out. Narrows up here as we then come down to turn 16, which is where attack mode activation is located.
Yeah, and you see the red and the blue lines across attack mode activation. That doesn't matter. The sensors are actually in the second half of that area, and it's just the 3 sensors you've got to cross in order to arm attack mode. That's turn 22, back on to the start, and look how the cars don't slide around nearly as much as we've seen them on some of the other surfaces. It's Nick Cassidy braking heavily for turn 1. Just look how quickly it turns in. They're going to have to really compromise and adapt with all these different surfaces, because you think, oh, that's my grip level, and then you start getting a little bit carried away and a little excited and a bit aggressive, and yeah, the next thing you know, you don't have the grip where you thought you did. This is the first lap we've really seen its speed. The drivers are going to be busy.
Comes Cassidy up towards turn 9, now out onto Sandstone Lane. The New Zealander making his way now to the switchback hairpins.
He's been super impressive, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he's up to 5th in the points, but in New York City, a 4th and a 2nd. His performance, his consistency, absolutely first rate.
No one scored more points than Nick Cassidy in the last 4 races, which is why he's now up in the order. There's the Docklands Light Railway just to the right-hand side, having a little stop for the commuters. And Cassidy, well, I guess it is kind of commuter time, isn't it? It's 5 o'clock on a Friday, so
he's got rush hour.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a bit of traffic ahead, as Nick Cassidy, as he comes into this complex of corners at 18, 19, 20, and then up the east ramp and back into the XL.
The Mercedes in front of me just stopped, man.
Yeah, copy, we saw.
Complaining about rush hour as well. Welcome to London.
Yeah, as you would though. If you're Nick Cassidy, you wouldn't be too impressed with that. You know, you're committing to a certain corner and the car in front just stops, which is not what you're expecting.
On the grip, are you less likely to lock up on a grippier surface, or does it not make too much difference?
It means the margin for error is even smaller, I would say. So you go deeper and deeper onto the brake. So when you do lock up, then you've got less chance to get out of it. The problem that you've just created. Almost looks in turn 5 like the Audi powertrain in the Envision Virgin cars, locking the inside.
Attention all teams, this is race control.
Rear.
Full course yellow in
You're
5,
good,
4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow, full course yellow.
Scott Elkins, race director, doing a practice full course yellow. No, France just got a little bit loose, didn't he, there, coming through that right-hander. There you see Scott Elkins down at the bottom right of in the picture in the white shirt. And a nice watch. Looks like a nice watch. Never noticed Scott Elkins' watch before.
Oh, he's got a few.
Has he?
A few nice tickers as well, Scott.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. And that full course yellow will be ending in a moment or two.
He's a horologist.
Wow.
Yeah.
40 minutes on the clock.
Watch turns 4 and 5. Watch the inside rear. I don't know if it's just the Audi powertrain that was doing it, but it almost looked like the inside tyre was locking just a little bit.
Up the west ramp.
I like the sailboat over to the left.
Yeah.
Hugo Boss sponsorship on it.
Exactly, as you might expect. And 40 minutes on the clock.
Do you think they'd let us take it for a burn? They won't let us take
This
the
is race
cars
control.
out.
Full course yellow ending in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green flag, green flag.
So that's what I was getting excited about a little bit earlier. That slide from Robin Freitz coming into turn 9. Look, boss Sylvain Philippe.
But he was getting excited too. We've seen some pound signs with some of the damage bill, but he was, it looked like Robin just locked the rears a little bit into turn 9 and did a good job to not make it any worse than that.
hashtag London E-Prix if you want to get in touch. Bethany wondered what the temperature is like indoors. It's fairly similar to outdoors, honestly. Obviously, when it was yesterday, it was 30 degrees outdoors, and it was beating down with sun. So in the shade, it was not as sunny, evidently, but still very, very warm indeed. But that heat has kind of cleared overnight, so we're sort of in the mid-20s, and it feels like that inside as well. Maybe a little cooler inside, but not a huge amount of difference in terms of temperature.
This weather report is brought to you by Formula E.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I wondered this. I was asking on the way here, like, is it going to be freezing cold aircon inside, and then suddenly you go outside and it's absolutely sweltering? Well, no, they're kind of similar.
Yeah, absolutely right. We see Jake Dennis.
I needed to know where to pack my shorts, basically.
Nobody needs to see you in shorts, Jackie.
Exactly, so I didn't. Well, I packed them, I'm just not wearing them. Anyway, enough about that. Jake Dennis through turn 16 after 2 fifth places in Puebla. Didn't pick up any points in New York. Retired in race 1, 16th in race 2.
He's been mightily impressive this year, let's not forget. He's a rookie. You know, his win in Valencia, yeah, maybe slightly fortuitous, but he led from start to finish. So, yeah, very impressive. You see the 2 Envision Virgin cars heading off into pit lane. Jake moves up to top of the times. I wouldn't pay too much attention to the times just yet.
Mode 3 and keep pushing.
Dennis changes his mode and keeps pushing. A lot of you loving the track on hashtag London E-Prix, which is really great to see as we look at Da Costa locking up the left front.
Unusual, that's the loaded tyre. Normally you wouldn't see that to locking up, you'd see it would be the inside, but yeah, Antonio, look at him, his hands moving as he kind of winds more and more lock on into turn 10.
That's the first of the 2 hairpins on the switchback. Now he's coming through this
I know you want rotation through 17, but that wasn't beautifully across the curb and steeply up on the ramp. Watch the surface change and watch the grip change as he hits it. The car just sort of settles into the circuit, turn 22. Oh, Antonio using all the curb.
Cool down lap. Next car behind BME at 5 seconds, and then next cars are at 15 seconds right now. Feedback if you can.
I spent one of the sessions listening into one of the teams.
A lot of oversteer. I don't know if it's just the rear tires too hot. Obviously we run the new tires, which is not ideal.
Okay, but that's oversteer with the backslide. That's the oversteer is the backsliding. We'll see it again here. Decent through there. And watch his hands. Well held. Yeah, so I listened into one of the teams during a session, and that level of communication is going on non-stop in practice. Engineer to driver, driver back to engineer. You see Mitch Evans now in the Jaguar, home race for the Jaguar team. And Mitch Evans looking for a rebound after a mistake in New York City near the end of the race. I think this weekend I'm looking at the Mercedes guys, and I'm looking at Mitch Evans to score some big points. Through the chicane. Yeah, thanks for nothing. That chicane, I think, is going to catch somebody out, Jack. It reminds me of Montreal, that fast chicane where Buemi had the big accident. It ultimately cost him the championship. So watch the balance of the Jaguar. A lot of the teams saying the Jaguar looked, even from shakedown this morning, they could learn. Jaguar looked, both Jaguars, Sam Bird, obviously in the championship, both Jaguars looked very, very strong. There is a lot different, not only going in and out of the building, because you go out of the building into sort of a slightly covered area and then you're completely in the daylight. So today it's probably quite a big difference. Tomorrow, if it does rain, not going to be such a problem. Big sideways for Lucas Di Grassi, really pushing the limits. And the Formula E car will feel completely different with that level of grip on the indoor surface that the drivers are talking about than it's really ever felt before, because you can lean on the car that much more than they really have in the past. You change the driving style just a little bit, then you get back onto normal asphalt, and business as usual. Looks a bit interesting. When they were running around at 110 kilowatts in shakedown, it's like, yeah, okay, it looks like it's a proper corner now. I tell you what, 17 as well is causing some people some issues. Lucas Di Grassi had the same oversteer that we saw from Antonio Felix da Costa a couple of laps ago, so that's going to have to learn to control that or change the setup of the car. The problem is that'll change the setup through these type of corners too, which I honestly think the differential, the mechanical balance might have to be somewhat different for these corners as they in the indoor stuff as it will for the outdoor, so that's going to be a bit of compromise in driving style because of that, I think. Those are sort of key words this weekend: the compromise and adaptability. As we see Alex Lynn on screen dealing with some traffic. His home race just up the road in Essex, currently third quickest in the Mahindra. Spoke to him after the session. He said he felt like he had a good rhythm with the circuit even after shakedown this morning. So yeah, looking for a good result this weekend. Really fast in qualifying. Just put some more points on the board. Normally we would say, oh yeah, they're doing sort of energy saving, they're practicing how to do that, be the most efficient they can possibly be. In this, the way this race is going to run this weekend, the Formula E have already taken energy out of the battery. Instead of being 52 kilowatt hours available, it's gone to 48, but the teams are already saying, yeah, it's such a slow track that actually we're going to be flat out for the whole race. Energy saving is not going to be a big part of it. That means I think the race is going to be more aggressive than we've seen. There's probably going to be more contact, more drivers getting aggressive, trying to make overtaking moves.
Joel Eriksson in the Dragon Penske Autosport machine, who after a fairly solid debut in Puebla, struggled a little more in New York City. So we'll see what Eriksson can do here. He was there or thereabouts with Sete Camera in one of the qualifying sessions in Puebla, but Sete Camera made super pole in New York City, and Eriksson was down at the back of the order. Not scored any points yet, but also equally Sete Camera hasn't scored any points since the second race in... no, Sete Camera hasn't scored any points since Diriyah, so it's a tough one for Dragon. As you see Blomqvist there, just in front of Lucas Di Grassi, another home driver this weekend for the Neo team.
I thought the Dragon cars looked, in particular Sete Camera in qualifying and Superpole, looked good. The car balance itself, the grip available to him, it looked very good. So they just got a new powertrain, new Bosch powertrain in that car, and they're just working to maximise that and all the systems. So they felt a little bit behind with that, but the speed, and certainly one lap speed is there.
I have zero confidence in the rear of my car. No confidence in the rear end.
Okay. No confidence in the rear of the car, says Tom Blomqvist.
That means when he's trying to turn the wheel, every time he turns the wheel, the back starts to come round, starts to slide, and that can help you in a degree if you know, and it's consistent, but it sounds like Tom's just not happy with it at all, and that's the last thing you want on a street course. I mean, just look how close the walls are. No margin for error at all. See Oliver Rowland, one of the 7 British drivers in the field. He's been a qualifying machine this year, second best of all the qualifiers. He's as far as point scoring though, he's P11 in the championship, so still a bit of work to do with the Nissan team. Back into the pits he comes.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year for Rowland. A lot of promise, but not quite delivered really in terms of race results. He had only that one podium finish in the first race in Puebla.
Bizarre, isn't it? You'd think so much better. He's had some cracking drives, but you can say that about most of the field. As Sam Bird has a bit of an oversteering moment in turn 3, turned in, bit of brake on, and the back came round. Let's see what he says.
No, too many mistakes.
Too many mistakes, presumably on that lap for Sam Bird. He has been very busy over the last couple of weeks with all the media commitments, arriving to London as the championship leader. A lot of interviews today. Top of the times now, which will help him, but still 29 minutes to go. Jaguar's first race on British soil since the 2004 British Grand Prix, where Mitch Evans' manager Mark Webber was racing for Jaguar. Here's Sims in the Mahindra, about to burst out by the docks and then down the west ramp. Sims winding his way through now, up towards turn 9, out onto Sandstone Lane in the Mahindra. He's had some reasonable qualifying performances recently, Alexander Sims, and in fact 9th on the grid for both races in New York City. Came through to finish, I think, in 6th for the second one. So and he seems kind of satisfied after the race. So yeah, it's about where the car is. Not too bad. Yeah,
that was his maximum. I think it's a little bit frustrating sometimes for him and Alex Lynn, because the car, I think it's maybe got slightly better qualifying than race performance at the moment, but obviously the Mahindra team did absolutely everything they can to improve that. But the margins between success and failure, back of the grid, front of the grid, are absolutely tiny.
Yeah. You can see already 0.6 of a second separating the top 12 on a 1 minute 23 second lap as Sims comes out of the final corner. Does he improve? No, he remains in 19th place at the moment, 1.5 seconds away from Evans, so doing some race running, I would imagine, at the moment, Alexander Sims. He's got one of the Neo cars in front. Here comes Norman Nato, who's in attack mode. See the blue lights flashing just above his head. And he is running now at 235 kilowatts of power. Nato has a few goes at turning it in, and after it looked like he had made a bit of a breakthrough in Valencia, struggled a little, even though he's been out in sort of Group 4s all the time recently. His qualifying hasn't been particularly strong. In fact, the second race in New York was only his second time qualifying inside the top 10 in 10th place since Valencia, despite being in Group 4 every time for Nato. Yeah. Whilst Edo Mortara has taken the lead of the championship at one point.
Yeah, that's frustrating. Again, rookie driver. You've got an experienced teammate like Edo Mortara, who's doing a phenomenal job. I mean, what he's done this season, really impressive. So it's difficult mentally when you're coming to these tracks. A lot of these tracks for the first time. Obviously, the track in London here is new for everybody, but yeah, it's been difficult for Norman. Good, good finish. I think 7th place finish. Second race in New York, so not too bad with that. He's got some traffic ahead of him. Looks like one of the Neos.
Yep, Tom Blomqvist goes to the inside, coming into 21. And through he goes.
It's actually interesting watching all the different surface changes. It doesn't look like the grip level changes as much as I thought it would going across those the old surface, the old asphalt, the metal for the doors closing of the XL, and then the new indoor surface. Yeah, not much of a change in grip level. Jaguars 1-2 at the moment.
Yep, Evans and Bird. Bird just came across the line a few seconds ago to go quickest. Jaguar 1-2, Susie Wolf on the left-hand side, Jerome D'Ambrosio on the right-hand side, Turvey now ahead of Mortara, so we've got another Neo ahead of Venturi.
And Mortara pops up to third quickest. 23.9, about 4/10 back.
Christian Silk saying earlier on today, the team principal of Neo, that a rainy race the next couple of days could be a good chance for Neo to bag some points in slightly more unpredictable conditions.
I was going to say, if Formula E is unpredictable, throw a bunch of rain in over the next 2 days and just look out. It's going to be survival to a degree, but yeah, really, anything can happen. We talk about group qualifying, the top 6 in the championship going first in the unfavourable conditions. If it rains, all that's thrown out the window.
Yeah. See a couple of the fans at the Prince Regent DLR station just standing and watching some of the action. Rubber flying up as they come through turn 15 and 16 and then switching back left. Underneath the Michelin bridge. Through the little chicane at 19 and 20. Up the east ramp. And back inside again goes Oliver Turvey. 24th quickest at the moment, Turvey. But 2.5 seconds off the pace of Sam Bird up at the front. In fact, exactly 2.5 seconds off the pace, despite improving that time around. So there is the team with Christian Silk there, the man I was mentioning a moment ago, CS on the headset. As now it is Jean-Eric Verne that we're looking at, the DS Chichita driver. Swinging through the final corner. So close, well, he had a very strong performance in the first race in New York City, and then was looking good, really, in race 2. Was feeling confident because Group 1 qualifying wasn't too much of a disadvantage, but had a water pump failure in qualifying, which led to a failure in the car for the race as well, which meant he couldn't even get off the line. And he couldn't even get back to the pits. So he had to spend the whole race standing in the middle of the track.
In the baking sun. Oh, I didn't realise that. Glad I didn't see him afterwards, because that wouldn't have been pleasant at all. There's Sam Bird, quickest of anyone so far, championship leader as well. Robin Franks in the Envision Virgin car. You see the mechanics changing the tyres. They'll be monitoring tyre wear. Looks good though. I was worried that the tyres were going to be wearing at a big rate with that surface. Looks pretty good.
Joel Eriksson, 15th quickest at the moment for the Dragon team. Quicker than his teammate Sergio Sede Camera, for what it's worth, by, well, barely anything actually, 0.03 of a second. As Nick de Vries comes down towards turn 1. The Mercedes on the brakes, clobbers the curve on the inside. That's one of the things Verne said actually. He was standing there and he'd never really watched cars trackside, and he heard this huge bang and he thought, oh, someone's had a crash. Nope, they were just going over the curbs. And he didn't realise when you're inside the car just how big the sound is when you hit it.
Yeah, you talk about Formula E cars with the electric motor, the noise is a lot less than an internal combustion car. When one of these goes past you on track, even just leaving the pit lane, the energy that is there is quite impressive. Yeah. I stood out during the start of practice sessions, the way my comms box was in New York. I was able to go and stand outside and watch them. Really impressive. You see Nick de Vries looks like he's pushing fastest of his any of his sectors. Sorry, fastest of all of his first sectors.
Only in 200 kilowatts at the moment, de Vries. Onto the brakes into turn 16.
Yeah, he's 22nd at the moment though. One thing with all that extra grip on the indoor section, that's going to put more stress on the brakes. Especially the front brakes are going to really be relying on the brakes. You saw them glowing red, and so that's going to put a bit more strain on, and that'll change the way the teams tend to run the scoops on the front braking system, and you'll see the car straight ahead. You'll see the scoops actually not that far away, but you'll see the scoops. Watch for the front, in between the front wheels. Watch for the brake discs glowing. Just a little bit.
He's backed off as well, I think, Nick de Vries, after doing that lap that sends him second quickest. 21 minutes to go. There's Antonio Felix da Costa coming through the chicane and down towards turn 16. Narrow part of the track. And you're right, that little right-hander at 15 is going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, it is. And I think the distance between, it's quite short distance between 15 and 16, so I think it'll be a lunge. If anybody tries to pass into 16, it's going to be a late braking maneuver. Da Costa again jumping the curve. But look at when the car hits the curb, the way the wheels absorb it. That's because the team spend quite a lot of money on damper technology that helps the car over the bumps and helps the car over the curbs and absorbs the bumps and keeps the tyre in contact with the surface, whether that be the curb or the tarmac, asphalt or polymer surfaces in this case.
Da Costa goes quickest. Pascal Wehrlein, you might have seen in the background, just using fan boost as he came across the line to go 5th quickest. 7,000th between Da Costa and Bird, the top 2 in the championship coming into this weekend. And there's the look down the east ramp. Here's Andre Lotterer. crunching the dip at the bottom, and then into turn 9. Out onto Sandstone Lane. Bit of traffic in front. Sebastian Buemi in the Nissan keeps well out of the way. And now into the 2 hairpins at the switchback. Left and right through the chicane. His teammate Verline gets out of the way now as well.
And finally, Lotter's getting some decent points on the board. 8th and 5th in New York. He's 18th though in points still, which is great for qualifying groups, but that's about it.
Well, those 2 points finishes in New York were his only ones, other than his 2nd place podium finish in Valencia all that time ago. And in fact, that 2nd place finish for Andre Lotterer was his 6th 2nd place finish, still yet to have a win.
How does Andre Lotterer not want a Formula E race?
Yeah.
It's bizarre. The good thing is, he struggled a bit in certain points this season.
But we keep pushing next lap, keep pushing.
But he's got the experience of being a multiple Le Mans winner, and he's won a lot of stuff in Japan. So that, to me, that helps, having that level of self-confidence. He knows he can do the job. Porsche know he can do the job.
Van Dorn quickest. I think he was in attack mode. As we go on board now with Lotterer on his front right wheel. Coming into turn 9.
Gave the apex a bit of room. Be very interested to see when we show that camera, or the one from the other side in the turn 12-13 chicane.
Yeah.
Again, missing apex by a bit. That's understandable. How close does he get on exit to the wall? Not bad. Okay, let's see how close he gets to the inside wall. Yeah, there you go. Fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant stuff.
They've actually cut the wall down on the driver's left as half the normal height to give the drivers, keep the corner tight, but give the drivers a sight line through the chicane. Down to turn 16. Not using attack mode there. This is where we've seen the cars oversteer through 17. Balance of the Porsche, very nice. But 17 dictates what happens in 18 already, which dictates what happens 19, then 20 up the hill. It's one corner into the other, into the other, into the other. That whole sector is critical to get the first corner right, to get the rest of the sector right. If you mess the start up, then you're in trouble. As Lotterer comes down over the finish line. And where is he? 9th quickest at the moment. Yeah, that's his fastest lap so far. 4/10 back from quickest driver Stoffel Van Dorn.
So Roland now goes to the top on a 22.681, 7/10 quicker than Stoffel Van Dorn. It was not a full power lap, just a attack mode lap from Roland, but that is now the new benchmark. René Rast arriving 7th in the championship standing, so he's in Group 2 this time. René Rast, after only picking up 1 point in New York City, said earlier that didn't really expect to be, well, he was a bit tongue-in-cheek when he said, I said, were you expected to be a championship challenger this year? He said, no, I just hope not to come last.
I think that might have been tongue-in-cheek.
That was tongue-in-cheek, but I still also don't think he expected to be a title contender in his rookie season, which he very much is. He did make the point that this is quite a rare season in Formula E, considering quite how mixed up it is, but nevertheless, he's done a good job.
The fact that there's 15 drivers, that if they scored a maximum point score this weekend, or this tomorrow, could be leading the championship tomorrow night. It's pretty close.
Worth pointing out, Sam Bird could wrap up the title this weekend if he scores 55 points, but that, of course, is a big ask. The highest point score that we've had this season was Eduardo Mortara in Puebla, where he scored 40 with a first and a third, so it would need to be a huge haul of points, but it is mathematically doable for Bird, even though it isn't very likely at all. 15 minutes to go. 55 out of 60 points in a Formula E doubleheader weekend doesn't really happen very much. Nico Prost did it actually last time we were in London. He won both of the races of the doubleheader, didn't he? And I think Sam Bird actually did it in New York City a few years ago, but qualifying was very different back then.
Yeah, you've got to get your pole positions, group qualifying. There's a lot's got to go right to get those 55 points. Nick
On board with
Vries
Van Dorn.
up to 2nd quickest.
Joel Eriksson goes 4th quickest.
Watch the surface change here, and look how steeply downhill that goes.
Bird now goes to the top of the times, the 21.998, which I think was on a 200 lap. Might have been a 235 attack mode, but didn't look to be it for me when I was looking at the data that we have here. So Bird to the top, whatever happens, a couple of tenths clear of Norman Nato, and then clear of Sergio Setti-Camera, who comes across the line to go third quickest with 14 minutes to go.
Think about it, 22 corners. If you gain just a fraction through each, you know, all of a sudden it's quite a big, you get quite a big advantage on those around you. But to get 22 corners right, it's easier said than done. I don't think I ever managed. I struggled with 4 corners at Indy to get that right, to be honest. Mitch Evans. Yeah.
He's in attack mode. Roland is not here.
I think with as much grip as they're getting in turn 1, they're turning in a bit earlier than I thought they would. That's going to make overtaking into one just that bit more difficult. So if you want to pass there, you're going to have to be, again, a bit very aggressive, basically.
Roland moving out of the way of Andre Losserer. Bird still quickest. Nato second, Setti-Camera third at the moment with 13 minutes on the clock. Tommaso Volpe there in the white shirt in the middle, the Nissan Motorsport Global Director. James Barclay, Team Director of Jaguar Racing, watching Evans come through the chicane. And I think he just did a fan boost test down the back straight. That's why he suddenly went purple for a moment, but he's in attack mode as it stands. We'll get his middle sector split in a moment, Mitch Evans. And compared to his teammate Bird, he's about 0.3 of a second away after the first 2 sectors.
I've got to say, turn 15, we talked about it, but at 250 kilowatts, qualifying power, it's a seriously quick place, and it's getting, the cars are absolutely on the limit and moving around.
Evans goes 5th quickest, 0.6 away from Bird, which suggests Bird's lap would have been in attack mode then, because that looked like a sort of relative push lap from Evans. Robin Freitz goes 2nd quickest, although he too, maybe not in attack mode. We'll see whether anyone goes for a full power run later in this session or whether they'll wait for tomorrow morning, as Max Günther leaves the pit lane now. This is the Dragon in a full power mode, and it is Joel Eriksson then. So he's gone full power straight away. The DS Techeetah gets out of the way.
The drivers are working hard. I mean, just to control all that torque, that instant torque of the electric motor, and that so many corners in a lap. Ericsson was only 12th.
I think he was in attack mode actually. I think he was just testing his fan boost down the back straight. There's a lock up for Da Costa. Dennis goes up to 7th.
Confidence of Da Costa starts to lock up. He just turns it in, no real reduction in speed. Got off the brakes well, carried the speed in. You hear the bottom of the car hit the ground as they go across the transition between the ramp and the flat part at the bottom of the ramp.
Da Costa down Sandstone Drive. Sandstone Lane, my apologies. Got to get it right. Now into the switchback.
Now they've named it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, that is actually the name of the road.
Is it?
They go, yeah, I've just made that up.
You normally do.
No, I don't make it up out of nowhere. I make it up out of real things.
You've got to see a real thing in a second as you come through turn 15. Look, it's the car moving around. The hardest thing for coming out of 15 is getting the car positioned properly for the braking zone of 16, Jack. And I think in the race, to try and make a pass there, you're going to have to time it perfectly.
Is it fairly easy to defend into 16, but then you're going to lose too much energy?
You need to be careful. If you start to defend too early, too hard, you might start to spin. You might get the rear of the car coming around on you as you go through 15. You might need all the road to stay flat out through 15. To talk to some of the drivers about that and get the driver's eye view, as it were.
10 minutes to go. Nigel Beresford on the left, James Rossiter on the right in the DS Techeetah garage. Nigel everyone dives to the pits.
Yeah, Nigel Beresford looks so serious there. He's a really nice guy. Massive history over the years with the Penske organisation and IndyCar. He's been with the very successful DS Techeetah team now for a few years.
On board with Turvey in the Neo 333 team. Alex Lynn goes quickest on a 21.951. 500ths or so quicker than Sam Bird. Sounds like Turvey's backed off on this one as he comes down into the chicane. Going through the dash you can see there. Watch through turn 9.
You watch the bump in turn 9. That's going to slow you down just a bit. You see Turby's fingers on the button, talking on the radio. A tyre change for Stoffel van Dorn. 2 sets of tyres for this weekend. 1 set for each race. You can use, and obviously you see the tread on the tyres, so the same if it rains tomorrow, they're not going to be changing tyres. Same tyres, wet and dry, which is going to be handy because half the track will be wet and the other half will be dry.
Yeah.
That's why they pay the big bucks, Jack.
Yeah, well, wise words. And some of the wet will come inside.
It will. It's going to be really interesting.
9 minutes to go. There is Sebastian Buemi in the Nissan Edams. And he looked a little better in New York, qualifying-wise. Ended up qualifying in 5th place in Super Bowl in day 1. He actually topped group qualifying on the first day, but race result ended up being 6th. And it was similar to that. I don't think there's the race pace there in the Nissan that I was expecting this year, actually.
No, not yet, absolutely. And obviously there's a couple of incidents there. We talked about the Lynn incident with Pascal Verlaine. Verlaine's race was done when he ran into the back of Alex Lynn because his car was so badly damaged. So, but Sebastian, yeah, it's not there yet, but the Nissan Edams guys will definitely get to the bottom of that, the performance that they need.
On board with Buemi. Down into 6, down into 10.
This is new with the camera going back and forwards.
Yeah.
Watch how close he has to get to the wall on the left. All right, we'll finally getting on board through 15. Here we go, coming up. As you're actually lifting through 15. Look at he's doing a sort of energy-saving lap there. Be interesting to see that full noise later. Look how steep the ramp is back up into the, when he comes through 20, look how steep the ramp is, up the hill. Watch the surface change, he goes back indoors, and the light change.
Right then, here comes Sebastian Buemi for a full power lap. He's done his preparation lap, and this is our first full-speed run in London.
Using all the road on the way in. Back to the left through turn 3. Watch the surface change, heading down the ramp, back into the daylight. Oh, bit of a jump there. Through 6, the compression. Back to throttle, trying to get all the way back over to the left to open up turn 9, bump at the apex. Widens out. Decent first split. Now your job is to pick out the braking zone as he does for turn 10. Maximum lock, hands off the wheel to get round. Same in 11, even tighter. Again, watch how close he gets to the wall through this blind chicane. Neat and tidy. He'll be thinking he could probably carry a little bit more speed there. Yeah, he's actually, oh, bit of a snap because he was turning and braking through 15. No, didn't rotate quite as well as he wanted in 16, I would say. The front of the car just sliding a little bit more than he wanted. Back to throttle up the steep hill. You're in these tight corners for such a long time, it's easy to lose or gain a bit of time.
So Buemi out across the line, and the first flying lap time for Buemi is, well, 22.6 actually. So not that fast in the end for Buemi. Van Dorn is full power and quickest in Sector 1. De Vries goes second quickest, but still 7 thousandths away from Alex Lynn. And there's Lucas de Grassi rolling out of the pit lane now. Meanwhile, this is the BMW of Max Günther, who is in 12th spot at the moment. He's 3/10 down on Lynn after the first 2 sectors. So Lynn's time, I don't think, was at 250, was it? Buemi was definitely the first one we saw at 250, but Günther also not getting particularly close to it.
It's not close to the wall.
Yeah. Van Dorn is also up after the first 2 sectors. Here comes Günther, only goes 10th quickest. 4/10 away.
Can keep pushing sector 1 on 250.
Gunther being told to keep pushing. Van Dorn goes fastest. The 1 minute 21.815 for the Mercedes driver. His teammate Nick de Vries only went third quickest. Da Costa is improving a little in the middle sector in the DS Techeetah, and now goes to the top of the times on a 21.7. This is the Venturi of Norman Nato coming down towards the hairpin right-hander of 16. The Frenchman now swinging into this tight, twisty complex at the end of the run. It's not that tight, actually. No, but it's not quite as back. It's kind of like the end of the Rome lap.
Yeah, it looked tighter on paper, didn't it?
Yeah, on paper.
Absolutely. Yeah, through 22 now, Norman Nato. Bit of a slide out of that last corner. I haven't seen that before. 7th quickest.
Mortara goes 6th quickest in the other Venturi. 3.5 minutes to go. De Grassi is just starting a flying lap now. The Brazilian down towards turn 1 in the Audi. Into the left, quickly right.
Lynn's on a full power lap behind him as well.
Mortara 3/10 away from Da Costa. So we'll see what Lynn can do at full power, because if he can get anywhere near what he did on 2.35, that'll be pretty decent for Alex Lynn. Roland's going full power too. A lot of drivers going for it at the end of this session. He's got quite a lot of traffic. He's got quite a lot of rear sliding as well, Lucas de Grassi. Lovely stuff.
Yeah, the traffic was very frustrating, and it looks he's going to catch up with one of the Envision Virgin cars with Audi powertrain behind him. Not getting out of the way though.
It's Robin Freins. It's difficult to get out of the way in that double hairpin, I'd have thought.
You can't put any more lock in, absolutely, Jack. That's the problem, and it's such a slow set of corners. I wonder if Lynn's got that same amount of traffic. Just got to catch it at the wrong point, and that's the end of your lap.
De Grassi half a second down on Da Costa after the first 2 sectors. Verne is 2/10 up in sector 1 on his teammate Antonio Felix Da Costa. In such a good mood today, Jean-Eric Verne. I even said, "You're in a really good mood." He said, "Yeah, no, I know." He's, you know, it's basically a sort of home race for him as he lives in London. And he's still a 10th up on Da Costa after the middle sector. Here comes De Grassi out towards the line, and that is the timing line there. De Grassi goes 12th quickest. Lynn goes 2nd, so improves, but only in the first sector. He didn't improve in his middle or final sectors. And Verne goes to the top, a 1 minute 21.650. Now, this isn't a power-sensitive track particularly, so is that why the difference between 200, 235, 250 is not that huge?
Yeah, that definitely's got a part to play in that, Jack. That being said as well, is qualifying is going to be uber important for the race tomorrow and Sunday. See Jake Dennis, see how brave he's going to be through 15. Yeah, he sort of straight lines the braking zone a bit to brake a bit later. Oh, but needs an extra handful of lock, and that steering's really heavy when he's doing that, to try and grab that extra handful of lock.
Lotterer goes 9th, up the east ramp.
I love the flow of that 18, 19, 20 sector.
Really fun to drive, the drivers were saying, this track. Dennis through the final turn, out across the line. Robin Freins has just set the fastest middle sector of anyone. Dennis goes 9th. Freins quickest in the middle sector, but 2/10 down in sector 1. Here is the Dutchman, all over the curbs, up the east ramp into 21 now. Nick Cassidy did the fastest final sector of anyone, despite being down in 18th position, a second off the pace of Verne. Freins goes 2nd, 4,000ths shy, but the fastest middle and final sector of anyone for Robin Freins. 35 seconds left on the clock. Here's Sam Bird. Bird is 2/10 away after the first 2 sectors, so he's got a shot at top 5. He's 8th at the moment.
So close.
Half a second all the way down to 12th place at the moment. De Vries goes 7th, Bird goes 3rd. Less than a 10th of a second between the top 4. Verne, Freins, Bird, Da Costa. Oh, and Evans gets into that 10th of a second as well. 5 cars within a 10th. Here now comes Buemi across the line, 23rd quickest, 9/10 of a second away. Alexander Sims has got to come across the line still. He's in full power. He won't really trouble the top 10, I don't think, Alexander Sims. Indeed, he does not. 21st place.
I think there might have been some traffic there in his last sector, Jack, because it was looking a bit better than that. It was looking about for a 4/10 back, which would have put 12.
But there we go. Look at those times at the end. The top 5 in free practice 1, separated by less than a 10th. Quite something. 4 thousandths between Verne and Bird, but interestingly, it is kind of actually what I would describe that top 5 as the sort of top 5 of the season, honestly. In terms of pace that you see, it always feels like it's the 2 Jaguars, the 2 Diesta Cheetahs, and the 1 Envision of Robin Freitz. That if I were to just sort of go on my gut feeling of pure pace throughout the year.
Race pace or qualifying pace?
Qualifying pace, 1 lap
really?
pace. That just feels like that's where...
Have you looked at the Super Pole stats?
Yeah, but Super Pole, Schmuber Pole, like...
Oh.
Because they're all out in Group 1 all the time. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know, I just feel like on all the balance of practices, Diesta Cheetah and Jaguar feel to me like they have the quickest car in clean running, is how I feel.
Interesting.
Mercedes are never quite there on 1 lap pace. Audi are never quite there on 1 lap pace. Bird, Da Costa, Freitz and Rast have got to stay at the FIA garage at the end of the session. They're under investigation for a technical inspection.
Oh.
So, there you go. Now when they're doing their practice starts. Buemi there on the left-hand side. You're not going to be getting much wheel spin on this, are you? I don't think.
This is one of those ones where it's an internal combustion car. You just throw as many revs as you could at it on the limiter and slip the clutch. I mean, even the torque, the massive torque an electric motor has, I don't know if it'll break the rear tyres loose. Let's see.
Yeah, no, barely anything. Well, usually we go from such low grip start lines in Formula E to such a high grip start line. It's remarkable, really. Now Rast on the left and Verlaine on the right.
I hope that Marshall on the left stands back, not this Marshall, just ahead of the camera, stands back away from the wall, because that's a bit distracting for the drivers when you come down and you see Marshall's head poking out.
There goes Rast down towards the first corner.
That one, right at the left of your screen. Ah, he's listening.
I know, he's just letting someone else have a look.
Ah. I wouldn't do that tomorrow during the start. There's a chance somebody will be in there. Can you imagine how physical it's going to be the first couple of corners tomorrow?
Oh, it's going to be brutal stuff, isn't it? Well, first 2, 3, but then this is where you get to the pinch point, really, isn't it? Coming through 4 and 5.
Yeah, 4 is the entry to 4, isn't it? You're going to want to be single file by that point.
Cassidy on the left, Dennis on the right. Decent start that from Gunter. It's quite a short little sprint as well down towards turn 1, isn't it?
Absolutely, especially from the front row. Oh, we finally got some wheel spin.
Yeah, you can see a few black lines being laid down, a few 11s.
Remember that the tyres are warm from practice as well, so the cars will have less grip accelerating off the grid tomorrow.
I think the drivers also want to be careful not to spin the wheels up too much, because of course these are the tyres that they will be using for the rest of the weekend as well. So Jean-Eric Verne getting his practice start away. So here's a look at the results after free practice 1 for the ABB Formula E World Championship round 12. And it is Jean-Eric Verne who's quickest, but look at that. Less than a 1/10 of a second between Verne, Freitz, Bird, Da Costa and Evans. And the top 3 in the championship, Bird, Da Costa and Freitz, all there in the top 4 positions, with Mitch Evans there in 5th place. Tough for Sebastian Buemi down in 23rd position, Lucas Di Grassi 17th. In fact, neither Nissan's showing a huge amount of pace. 19th for Roland, 23rd for Sebastian Buemi after free practice 1. Well, let's go down and join Nikki Shields, shall we? And see who she has come across. Nikki.
Well, Mark Preston, incredibly close there between the top 5 drivers, but quite reassuring to see both Jean-Eric Vergne and Antonio Felix Costa within that 1/10 of each other.
Yeah, it's always great to start a day, a race weekend like that. So in a good position. I see it's all the same people that are normally in the top 5 or 6. So now it's going to come down to maybe who's not in Group 1. I think that might be Mitch. I'm not sure.
Yeah, qualifying is the real decider, isn't it? I mean, looking at what you've seen here today in terms of track evolution, how much of an advantage, or I suppose disadvantage, is it going to be being in Group 1?
Not quite sure yet. I'll have to ask the engineers because they're doing most of the analysis. I think one of the things will be if it does rain, the temperature's dropped quite a lot over the last few hours. So that'll be pretty crazy if it's wet outside and obviously dry inside. No one's experienced that yet.
How do you think the track surface is going to cope, particularly the indoor surface, which is this sort of resin that has been laid down? How do you think that's going to cope with a bit of a wet tyre?
I think that's usually pretty good, the indoor surface. The outdoor, I'm not sure. And then the transition between the two will be the trickiest thing, I think.
And obviously the championship, this is kind of a critical point now. This is our penultimate race weekend with 4 races left to go. Is this the time where you can start leading away from the rest of the pack?
It's going to be all about picking up points, 4 races. We just got to get both drivers to pick up as many points as they can, and then that'll be the end of the season in Berlin. Obviously, there'll be the deciding point.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much, Mark, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Well, one way that you can help get involved in the title fight is with Fan Boost. Costa, Van Dorn, Bird, Vergne and De Vries, the top 5 at the moment. You can scan the QR code on the right-hand side or head to FIAFormulaE.com/fanboost, and you're limited to 1 vote per day. So, really interesting to see what happens tomorrow with the weather after an absolute heat wave in the UK over the last week or so. The rain is set to come tomorrow. And how heavy will the rain be? When will the rain fall? And who will it benefit? It's going to be a really, really fascinating day of action tomorrow, and then we'll do it again all on Sunday. The first free practice session in the indoor-outdoor circuit at the XL in London, round 12 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship season, and Nick Cassidy was one of the first drivers out on circuit. The New Zealander coming through the switchback, the hairpin right and then the hairpin left at 10 and 11. Antonio Felix da Costa sliding his way around in the DS Techeetah, complained a little bit of oversteer. Nick De Vries locking up as he came into turn 10. Lucas de Grassi getting out of the way of Jake Dennis as Alex Lynn came through 4 and 5 and then dropped down the hill into the chicane. The Jaguar of Sam Bird moving out of the way as Max Günther locked up his right front. As ever, the car's right up towards the wall, clunking over the curbs. Nick De Vries only ended the session 9th quickest. His teammate Stoffel Van Dorn 7th. A couple of lockups for da Costa in the session. Nothing too dramatic. Traffic was an issue when they were starting to do their full power runs towards the end of the session. Crunching over the curbs there. Well, that was a close one with Alex Lynn and Sergio Sede Camera just getting out of the way. Sebastian Buemi looking lively down into 16. Then the fast laps came and Jean-Eric Vergne ended the session quickest, a 1:21.650, but less than 1/10 of a second separating the top 5 at the end of free practice 1. So join us tomorrow morning for free practice 2, 9 AM. Will the weather be looking quite so pleasant over London town, or will we be having rain and a wet and dry session? Join us for it, it's going to be fascinating.